Hey everybody, it's me, Angel Benton, and it is time for another edition of Angel Sudsy Recap, where we delve into the world of daytime television and do a few reality shows on the side. And this week, I'm kind of taking a slight break from the Real Housewives of New York City, and instead, I'm going to be discussing the show that was the best show ever, Passions. Okay, now for those of you that don't know, Passions was a show that started in 1999. God, I don't know when it ended. It wasn't on that long. It was only on for a few years, and it was the best. It was the absolute greatest. I think the most it was on was like 11 years. So maybe at the very latest it ended like 7 years ago. But I was living here in 7 years. I don't remember. Anyways, well, whatever. Maybe it was only on 7 years. That sounds a little more right. Anyways, it was the best show, but it was way ahead of its time. Okay, so here's kind of the way that Passions worked was like, okay, do you remember back when Days of Our Lives got really crazy, like Marlena? First of all, well, I guess maybe I should save this for Days of Our Lives, but I think that Days of Our Lives, that was great the way Days of Our Lives was, and it was in the mind of the head soap writer Jim Riley, and they ended up bringing him back, and it's a little funny because nowadays, the producer of Days of Our Lives is talking about, oh, that's when the show jumped the shark. Are you kidding me? That's when the show was the best. That's when the show was great. So, and if the show jumped the shark then why did you move heaven and earth to bring him back? I don't get it. Anyways, he had his own program that he created and wrote the story for, and he was the head writer for, and it was called Passions, and it took place in Harmony, Maine. And there was this witch in there. Okay, right away, any show that's got a witch, I'm in. I'm all in, 100%, right? So they had this witch named Tabitha, who was played by the illustrious Miss Juliet Mills, and she was fierce in that part. She was so good. And basically it was all about the town of Harmony, and it was basically a supernatural show. Now, it was kind of like Dark Shadows, because Dark Shadows was supernatural as well, but Passions didn't take itself as seriously as Dark Shadows did. Passions was very much nudging you in the gut, giving you a wink. You know what I'm saying? And I loved it. I loved that. I could watch Passions and I would die laughing. Oh my God! And Tabitha, who was the name of the witch, she had this little doll who would come to life named Timmy. And the shit she used to do with that doll, it was hysterical. Now, the guy that played Timmy, Josh Bryan Evans, he ended up passing away on the day that he died on the show. I mean, isn't that crazy? So, yeah, that was a little insane. And anyways, it was a great show, and unfortunately, it was a little too ahead of its time, because I think if that show were to be on the air now, it probably wouldn't be beating Young and the Restless and Bold and Beautiful, but it would probably be like number 3 in the soaps, I think, because the generations have grown up that expect that, and the older soap fan isn't around as much now as they were in 1999. So I definitely think that it would have been great. Now, in 1999, because of my friends at Disney, Tracy, shout out to Tracy Bitchliff, aka Tracy Edmiston, and Ashley Yano. They hooked us up with, a whole bunch of us at Disney, they hooked us up with tickets to the very first Passions fan club lunch in 1999. And I'm not going to lie, it was a lot of fun. It was great because they didn't have the whole cast there. They had most of the cast, but not the whole cast. And everyone was there talking about the show. And then afterwards they had okay, wait, let's talk about this week. Hold on. Okay, I'm sorry. I'm getting ahead of myself. Okay. So this year, they had a Passions fan club lunch again. And I was surprised because it's been off the air for at least 7 years, at least. So, but I was like, okay, well, I'll check it out. I'll go see what it's like, because I do love that show. And I'm not going to lie, they had even more of the cast there now than they did before. So that was really cool. And not just that, but they had like lots, like, for example, the part of Ethan Crane was originally played by Travis Schultz. You know I love him. And then it was taken over by the guy that plays Brady Black on Days of Our Lives, Eric Martzoff, and they were both there. Both Simones were there. So it was kind of cool to see multiple recasts that played the same part, and everyone was getting along, and it was fantastic. I loved it. I thought it was awesome. Oh my God. So there was this nerdy guy named Reese, and he was, total nerd, and you could tell he was hot though, and you could tell that underneath all that he was totally hot, right? But he had a twin brother in real life. And when Nerdy Reese went off to One Life to Live, they hired the twin brother to continue to play Reese, and he did. And they did great. And they were both there at the Passions Fan Club lunch. I mean, it was great. It was awesome. I had the best time. It was incredible. Here are some things that could use a little work. First of all, the location. It was at a Dave and Buster's, and I don't know if I would have chosen. Now, granted, there was room because there weren't that many people there. There were probably more people at the very first fan club lunch, actually. But although there weren't that many people there, they had a conference room at Dave and Buster's. I didn't even know that you could have events at Dave and Buster's. Who knew? They have 3 conference rooms available. They just had one, so that was kind of crazy. I had no idea. So I would have picked a different location. The General Hospital convention was at a hotel, and it was very nice, and they had a huge convention facility that had room for everyone, and there was way more people at the General Hospital convention. So I mean, that was pretty. That was a little bit disappointing. Second of all, the breakfast, I could have done without the breakfast. It was okay, but there wasn't that much of a selection of stuff, and the tickets were over $100. So I'm like, okay, so this was kind of a disappointment. All right, the breakfast at least, and then and there wasn't that much seating room available. It was just kind of. But then they had the whole event. Okay, so I understand. Well, okay, so then they had the clips of the show. Now, don't get me wrong. The clips of the show were hysterical. They were absolutely hilarious. But they were all very early from the show. They were within the first 2 weeks of airing. So I don't know if I would have chosen those exact same clips. I would have chosen a lot of them because they were pretty damn funny. But there was a lot of shit that happened that they didn't show, and there was a lot of people that were in the show that were never mentioned, that weren't represented in the clips. And that's what I would have done differently, is I would have gotten my list of who was together, and I would have cut together some clips from the show with everyone that's there, And I could literally, and I personally, and I haven't seen the show in years, mind you, it's been off the air for a while, but I could go through down the line and I could name you hilarious scenes of every single person, right, that was there. So I would have aired a different clip package personally. And I don't feel like there was enough, okay, for example, the kid that played Vincent, who was, okay, this is how crazy that show was. And he was great at it too. He played Whitney's hermaphrodite sister. And, it's hard to tell because he's a hermaphrodite. He's got both genders. He ended up giving birth on a kitchen table. I mean, I would have shown that scene because that was hysterical. But he didn't say boo the whole day, and it's nothing having to do with him. I don't think that he had a bad attitude or anything. I just don't think there were any specific questions geared towards him. So, I would have hosted it completely different. I would have hosted it a lot different than the guy that hosted it. And I'm not trying to be mean to the guy that hosted it because from what I understand, he put the whole thing together. So kudos to him for that. But I just think that, the mic wasn't working. It was going in and out. And people in the back were struggling to hear. And it was just, and then after the Q&A was over, they're like, okay, we're done. That was it. And some people stuck around to take pictures with the fans. And that was great. So I have a lot of pictures, not just of the actual panel where everyone was talking about the show, which I do. I've got plenty of those. But I also have pictures with some of the stars, the ones that stayed afterwards, and everyone was so nice and so sweet. It was great. They were all wonderful. It was wonderful. Anyways, one thing that they did though was they were talking about Timmy because, you know, rest his soul, Timmy was hilarious, and apparently he had this really larger than life personality. He was quite, as Juliet Mills would say, magical. And everyone had their own Josh Ryan Evans story, which I thought that was fine. That was great because I got to hear all these different personalities about Josh Ryan Evans. And here's the thing, I have my own Josh Ryan Evans story. So at that Passions fan club lunch, everyone, you know, was, you know, signing autographs and taking pictures, whatever, and there was lines in front of every celebrity, which it was very well organized. I've got to say that first one. But Josh Ryan Evans's line was almost out the door, and it wasn't because he was that popular, because remember the show had just come on when we did this, but it was more because he took the time to write, literally, instead of just writing his name, Josh Ryan Evans, and giving you, you know, the Martini glass, which is what they handed out. Again, we also got free swag at that, which we didn't get this time either. And yeah, so he signed everybody specific their name, and, you know, and he said something like "reach for the stars" or something, and then he would sign his name. So because that would take so long, because he had very small hands, he was a little person, so he was very tiny hands, so it would take him a while to write. So that's why his line was just out the door. But I thought it was cool that he was literally taking the time to literally ask every single person there what their name was, so that he could write their name. I thought that was great. Anyways, that was my Josh Ryan Evans story. I thought it was fantastic. Anyways, so it was great. It was okay. It was fine. Definitely, I would say it was a B. It was a B. It was good because it's been off the air for a while. So it was good that they happened. They got a lot of the cast together, but there's still a little bit of room for improvement. So hopefully they do it again next year because it was great. Anyways, thank you so much for logging on today. I do appreciate it. Please feel free to follow me on Twitter and Instagram at Angel Benton. Excuse me. And you can hashtag passions if you want to talk passions, or you can hashtag RHONY or Real Housewife shit to talk the Real Housewives of New York, because I'll be doing them again next week. Although the week after that, I'm taking a break and I'm doing, sorry, New York girls, I got one more break I'm taking because I'm doing Dancing for Relevancy again, because I'm seeing them live this Sunday. Not this coming up Sunday, but next Sunday. I'm so excited. Anywho, and you can also hit that subscribe channel, subscribe page, I can't talk, the subscribe button on my YouTube channel for my videos sent to your inbox every single day. Okay, thank you so much for logging on, everyone. I appreciate it. You have a wonderful day. Peace out. Wubba, wubba, wubba.